Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to today's session. In my previous video, I introduced you all to the different types of errors that could occur in the maintenance of books of accounts. In today's session, we will learn in detail about errors of omission. Now, what do we mean by errors of omission? Now, when the transactions of a business are omitted to be recorded in the books of accounts, it might be omission can be partially or complete omission. Then that type of errors are classified under this category of errors of omission. Now, from this we understand that there are two types of errors of omission that you can come across. One, error of partial omission, where the transaction is recorded but the omission has taken place partially. Whereas the other type of omission is error of complete omission, where the transaction has been completely been omitted, has not been recorded in the books of accounts at all. So now let us understand each of these in detail with example. So look at errors of partial omission. Now basically here the transaction has not been recorded completely in the books of accounts. So transaction has taken place in the business and we have recorded it in the books, but not completely. This type of errors of partial omission affects the tallying of the trial balance. Why? Because the transaction has been recorded, and you know that in accountancy, when you're recording in the books of accounts the transactions, normally there are two effects to every transaction, one debit effect, another credit effect. So when there is error of partial omission, then the transaction has got recorded but not completely, meaning that either the debit effect has not gone or the credit effect has not gone, which means debit effect has gone but credit effect has not gone. So that case, what happens? The trial balance shall not tally. The debit and credit total of the trial balance would not agree. So errors of partial omission would affect the tallying of your trial balance. So to understand it, I am giving you an example here of credit sale posted to sales account but not to party account. So now, where do we record the credit sales? In the sales book. So in the sales book, we record it as the party's name. That is, if suppose X party, we have made a sale of rupees 10,000, to Y suppose 12,000, to Z we have made a sale of 8,000. So let us take the total of this, that would be 30,000 is the total sale made in this month. So suppose, how do we post these amounts into the ledger? This entire amount would go into the sales account on the credit side as sales for the particular month. And these amounts would go individually into the ledger account. That is to the debit of X's account in the ledger, to debit of Y's account in the ledger, and debit of Z account in the ledger. These amounts are likely to be posted. Now suppose while posting, the total amount to the credit has gone as 30,000. And while posting into the individual debtor account, you have posted into X account debit side 10,000 and to Z account 8,000 debit side. By mistake, you have skipped posting Y's account on the debit side 12,000. So what happens? To the credit, you have posted 30,000. So the trial balance will have sales of 30,000. But on the debit side, the posting that is gone is only to X account of 10,000 and Z of 8,000. So only 18,000 has gone to the debit. Therefore, the debit side total would be less by this 12,000. This 12,000 posting into Y account has been omitted. So this is a case of partial omission. So I hope now the error of partial omission is clear. Now let us understand it with two more examples I've given here. Suppose there was rupees 1,000 written off as depreciation of machinery. That has not been debited to depreciation account. So you know that when a depreciation is charged in the machinery, we pass the entry depreciation account debit to that particular asset account. In this case, it is the machinery account. This should be the entry which should have been passed. Now what has happened in this case is that 1,000 rupees has been written off as depreciation on machinery, but it has not been debited. So this debit effect has not gone into the depreciation account. So in the depreciation account in the ledger, On the debit side, you should have 1000 rupees as machinery. This has not gone. Therefore, what has happened? Machinery account has been reduced by 1000, but depreciation has not been debited. So the debit effect has not gone, only the credit effect has gone by means of reduction in machinery. So here the transaction has been partially omitted. Similarly, one more example we'll take to understand it. Suppose there was goods purchased on credit from Sumit for 10,000, and this we have entered in purchases book. Correct. A credit purchase of goods goes into the purchases book, but not credited to Sumit's account. So when there is a purchase, as a journal entry, we would pass entry purchases account debit to Sumit account. So from this we understand that we should have debited the purchase and credited Sumit account. So what has happened here is that it has not been credited. So in the Sumit account, in the ledger, it should have come on the credit side 10,000 as by purchases. But the problem is this was not done. The posting did not go into Sumit's account credit side. Whereas in the purchase book, you have written all the amounts which you have made of, say, of purchases, credit purchase during the year, and the total of the purchase would have gone to the debit of the purchase account. But the credit effect of this one, 10,000 rupees, has not gone, and therefore this is a case of partial omission, and both these would be affecting the trialing of your trial balance. So I think with this, the error of partial omission would be completely clear to you. So now moving further, I will be discussing now error of complete omission. So in case of error of complete omission, basically the transaction just taken place in the business has not been recorded in the books of accounts, which means the transaction took place, probably it skipped, and the accountant did not record the transaction book at all. So both the debit and the credit effect wouldn't have gone in respect of the transaction. So from that we can understand that this type of error will not affect the tallying of trial balance because both the effect debit and credit have not gone. So trial balance would tally. So an example for this type of complete omission is, suppose there was a credit purchase or there was a credit sale. So what happens when there's a credit purchase? We make the purchase, we get the goods, but the payment is going to be made after the credit period. So probably the credit purchase was not recorded at all. So in the purchases book, you have not recorded a transaction of credit purchase of say 5,000. So that has not gone into the purchase account and not gone into the creditors account. So both the effect not gone, completed transaction omitted, does not affect the trialing of trial balance. So let us understand this with two more examples to make the concept crystal clear. So first one is goods returned by Mohan of rupees 1,500 not recorded in the books. So when goods are returned by Mohan, it means we had made a sale to Mohan and now out of that he has returned it. So basically it is a sales return or a return inward. Now when there is such a return, what is the journal entry that we pass? We pass entry of debiting sales return or the return inward account, and we credit the particular debtor account, in this case Mohan account. This entry should have been passed in the books, but when the goods were returned by Mohan, goods were taken instead, but entry was not passed. So both the debit to the sales return or return inward account has not gone, and the credit to Mohan to reduce the amount that is receivable from him has not gone. Therefore, here the transaction has been completely omitted to be recorded. So tallying of trial balance will not be affected. It would tally, but without this 1,500. So how to rectify this? Just pass this particular entry in the journal proper as a rectification entry. By recording this, we rectify this particular error. Now going to the next example. Goods costing 780, selling price of which is 1,000 rupees, given as charity, not recorded. So suppose you were in a place of business and somebody came and you gave away some of the goods as charity to that person. You didn't sell it, you just gave it away without getting any money from him. The cost of that goods was 780, but if you had sold it, probably you would have sold it for 1,000 rupees. Now this transaction, because you gave it away, you didn't receive any money, you should have recorded it as charity, but you forgot to pass entry. So what happens now? You have to record it. That's the rectification. So when any goods is given away as charity, we would debit it to charity account and we are supposed to credit the purchases account. Now why the purchases account? Because these goods costing 780 would have been purchased by the business and that was lying there, which was supposed to be sold later. So as soon as you purchased, you would have debited a purchase account. So this goods costing 780 is lying in the purchase account in the debit. But out of that now, because you've given it away as charity, that much worth of good is not available there anymore. So you have to reduce the purchase account by the cost which is included in the purchase account. So that is why we would pass the entry of charity account debit to purchase account of 780. You're going to ignore this selling price because what is included in the purchases, it is a cost of the goods which is purchased was included. Selling price is irrelevant in this case. So this is how you will pass this particular entry in the journal proper to rectify such an error. So when there is an error of complete omission, all you have to do is understand the transaction and pass the necessary entry which was not recorded. Now you record it in the journal proper, and that would be the rectification of the error of complete omission. So friends, I hope with this you have got total clarity on the concept of error of omission. If you found this video useful, please do like the video and leave your valuable comments in the comment section below. If you have not yet subscribed, then please do subscribe to my channel. So stay tuned for more videos on other types of errors which I'll be posting soon. Thank you. Have a great day.